daily update. I hope you are doing great today. In today's BTC daily update, we will be analyzing the BTC daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, and weekly time frame. So stick around to the end of the video because things will get very, very interesting. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot if you can help the channel grow. With that being said, let's jump straight into the charts and see what's happening with BTC. As always, I will be starting with the daily time frame because it is the easiest time frame to analyze. With that being said, let's start with the daily first. So first of all, apologies for the lack of updates. I was feeling a little bit under the weather for the last couple of days, so I couldn't really be doing the updates. Regardless though, I did leave you or I left you in the last update with a couple of keynotes that are playing out as we speak right now, basically. So last BTC daily update, which was around 4 or 5 days ago, I told you guys that BTC daily time frame is bearish basically, and I told you to expect these 5 days to be bearish. And I told you the best case scenario that bulls have is consolidation above 64 to 65k region, because that region is very, very important to go to the upside or to retest the upsides one more time, basically. All right, that's our support region. And I told you if we lose that 64 to 65k area, most likely we are going to be heading towards that 57 CME gap that we talked about. So this is the CME gap here. As you can see, it's a huge gap. BTC needs to go to around 57.5k in order to fill that gap. And I basically stated in the last BTC daily update, lose 64, most likely we're heading towards that gap basically. And since currently we are sitting around 59,671, which is around 2k above that gap, then the likelihood of filling that gap right now is like 90% already. All right. So regardless of the lack of BTC daily updates, I left you with two things that were more than enough for you to see what's happening or what will happen with the charts. And those two things were the fact that the BTC daily time frame was bearish, and the fact that if we lost 64, most likely BTC heads to 57. And that's exactly what happened. The BTC daily time frame was bearish. We did lose 64, and unfortunately, we are probably heading towards 57. We're just a couple of Ks away from that. With that being said, what's next for the BTC daily time frame? Well, a couple of things. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Basically, the obvious is that most likely we are heading towards that gap. There's good news and there's bad news. So the bad news is obviously that we're heading towards the gap, and another bad news is that there's a very high likelihood that we head towards the bottom of the channel as well, which is around 48 to 50k. Okay, so and this will come in the form of a loss of this, which is the heartland of this huge channel formation that we're in. Okay, so this is the bad news. Another fact, and the bad news also is that we are still bearish on the daily time frame. So we are under the daily EMAs, as you can see here. We are bearish. The good news is that we are around 50% done with the bearish downtrend. So basically, we have been downtrending for around 7 days. So we are around 40 to 50% done with the downtrend. So we still have around 7 days, give or take, of more bearish downside. Now, consolidation, as always, I told you guys before, is the enemy of any trend. So if we can find consolidation over this, I mean, wicking towards 57k and filling that gap is normal, great, healthy. But closing daily candles under the heartline, closing daily candles under 57 or 58k, which is basically translates to losing this heartline, that will be very, very bad for BTC, because that just basically means that we're most likely heading towards that 48 to 50k region, right? And the reason that I'm saying this is because we are respecting this channel so well. So we've been trending in this channel for so long right now in this bull flag formation, rejecting from the top and then finding support at the bottom. And every time we reach the top, we head towards the bottom. And every time we reach the bottom, we head towards the top. So since we reached the top already, most likely we're heading towards the bottom. Now we are prepared for this, and I will be talking about the weekly time frame as well. So don't panic yet. But those are the good news and the bad news on the daily. So the good news is that we're 50% done with basically the downtrend. The bad news is obviously that we're probably still heading towards that 57k region. And since we're bearish, and since we still have 7 days left, around 7 days give or take in bear land, then there's a very high risk to go to 50k, especially when we start seeing the heartline being lost, which is this level right here. Okay, which basically translates to 57k being lost. Okay, So that is it for the daily time frame. The daily time frame, unfortunately, is bearish. Now there is a couple of good news, but it's irrelevant too much. BTC CME closed last Friday. It closed around 62,475. So if we do head towards 57, there is going to be a gap left, between where we open and where we close on Monday. So which basically translates to us heading towards 63K, which is, I think, is happening on the 4-hour time frame. So the 4-hour time frame. Now let's head to the 4-hour. The 4-hour time frame is bearish, but again, it's reaching that area of a squeeze. So most likely, there's two scenarios here to be played. Basically, fill the gap and then squeeze up, or squeeze up and then fill the gap. Okay, there's two scenarios basically, and the gap is basically meaning 63K. As you can see, there's liquidity here, there's liquidity here, and there's a very high chance to have this to fill, basically grab that liquidity. Now it's not if we see that happening, it shouldn't make us super happy. The only way we flip happy is if we reclaim the daily EMAs. All right, so the daily EMAs are around 64K region. All right, because these will start to move down, and then the daily EMAs will be less and less and closer to us. But reclaiming the 64K region is very important in order to be reclaim the bullishness on the daily time frame. If that doesn't happen, we remain bearish on the daily, and on the 4-hour time frame, same idea. We need to reclaim the 4-hour time frame EMAs, which are coming in around 63,900, so 64K area as well. So unless we do that, we will remain bearish. So any type of squeeze to the upside is probably going to be, just a fake rally to just continue down more. Very similar to this. As you can see here, we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. We hit the EMAs, we squeeze basically, hit our heads on the EMAs and go down. Finally, till we start to reclaim them, which is around this area. This is where we claimed them. We had fake outs, a lot of fake outs, but this is where the reclaiming happened. Where basically you see price moving above the EMAs, the EMAs crossing bullish, price retesting the EMAs, and having consecutive 4-hour candles that are bullish in nature to the previous ones. So this is a clear sign that the downtrend is over. So this is what we need. Okay, 1-hour time frame. Unfortunately, I think it's irrelevant right now. But let me just see here. 1-hour time frame still has some bearish downside left. So the next 6 to 12 hours are probably going to be down, not up. Okay. So again, just all makes sense, and at least in my perspective. For 4-hour time frame, a squeeze is very likely. So, and since the 1-hour is bearish, most likely we head towards that gap, fill it, and then we squeeze. Daily time frame is bearish still, so heading towards that gap is also logical. Now the weekly time frame is where it gets interesting. Okay, so everything that's happening on the daily is very irrelevant to basically the bull run resumption. All right, so all of these zigzags that are happening are really irrelevant. They're useless. What is relevant for us is the weekly time frame. And I told you guys in the last update that the weekly time frame was looking good, but there's two possible scenarios. Like I want to speak about the scenarios. I got a message from some people on X or some comments saying that people just want to know where and what price and duration, and so they just want someone to be predicting the future. Unfortunately, anyone who tells you BTC is going to 20 or 20K in the next 6 days, or 100K in the next 7 days, or who gives you an exact number and tells you like 100% this is that, it's just bullshit. All of this is just bullshit. I'm a guy who's studying the charts, and the charts are based on probability and based on scenarios and the likelihood of the scenario playing out. And the last time we spoke about the weekly time frame, I told you that even though the weekly was super looking good, there is still a bearish scenario in play that still will make the weekly look good. And I told you that most likely we have two scenarios. Either we're going to rip to the upside from here, or we're going to go down, form some type of low, and then move to the upside. And I am going to be very firm and very strict with my words here. I think that the weekly is ready to rip. Now, just keep in mind the weekly time frame translates to 5 to 10 weeks. So when I say it's ready to rip, it doesn't mean it's ready to rip tomorrow. Okay, just you have to understand when I speak something, you have to understand what I mean relative to the time frame that I'm speaking about. So the weekly time frame right now is doing basically scenario B. So scenario A is now canceled. It's over. So we had two scenarios, just rip to the upside or drop and then rip. So now we are in the scenario of drop and then rip on the weekly time frame. What we would like to see in the weekly is a couple of things. We would like to see stochastic RSI bounce on this level here, which is the 20 level. So we would like to see this. Okay, this is a super healthy sign. We don't want to see this. Now, seeing this doesn't mean the end of the world. Seeing this just means that most likely the weekly will be in a little bit more downtrend before it rips to the upside. And the reason that I'm saying that it rips to the upside is because it's the weekly time frame indicators have already done their full bullish to bearish trend, and right now they're trying to reclaim that bullish momentum. Now, if you study TA or if you trade, you always know that before any rally to the upside, there's always some type of super drop. So for example, look at this, just to give you an example. On the weekly time frame, right here, look at this. A drop from 41.9 all the way down to 38. So almost a 4 to 5K drop towards the EMAs, and then after the drop happened, moved to the upside. Another example here, we had a weekly retracement which was bearish in nature from 25.5 all the way to 19. So we dropped around 23%, and then the following week we ripped to the upside. So every type of rally to the upside that is going to come with a strong pump usually has a drop before this weekly pump happens. All right, so we have a drop first and then we have a pump after, and that's what I'm seeing right now. Since now, granted, the weekly candle hasn't closed, but I mean it closed in a couple of hours and we're sitting at 59,400, so there's a very high chance that this is going to close very ugly and very bad. Regardless, what this means that scenario A on the weekly is gone and scenario B is at play here. Now, where does scenario B get invalidated? Where does basically scenario B lose? So basically this, right, which is ready to rip. Where does this scenario basically not become valid anymore? Or basically when we lose the weekly EMAs. When we lose the weekly EMAs, specifically these, the 18 and 30, when we lose and we go below them. Now there is the 50 as well. It is support. But when we lose the 18 and 30 EMAs as a start and we start to close below them and we start to get rejections on them and they start to cross bearish like this is game over. Okay? Something very, 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 very similar to this, just to give you an idea. Something very, very similar to this. Okay? As you can see here. We drop below them, we drop below the 50 even, we start to get rejections, we cross bearish on the 18 and the 30 EMAs on the weekly time frame, we have a fake rally to the upside, and then we continue dropping, and it's basically game over. Till that happens, I cannot say that I'm bearish on the weekly or on the larger time frames for Bitcoin, because I did the mistake of not respecting this cross here, and I was super bearish here, and then look what happened after. So till that cross happens, till those weekly EMAs cross bearish, I cannot be bearish yet on BTC, especially with the fact that we have this trending bull flag formation happening. Okay, personally speaking, I highly think that the bottom will be around 48 to 50 if the bull run is to resume. So if this is not a start of a mini bear market or a mini black swan, I think this is where the bottom is going to be, around this previous week as well. Okay, so 50 to 48K. Start losing that, start going to 40 and 41 and 45 and 43 and 42, then we analyze again, because that's just very bad. I don't want to see that. It doesn't scream bullish structure when you... Anything can happen in crypto, but it just doesn't scream bullish structure if we head to those levels. All right? So that is it for the BTC daily update. Just to quickly summarize, the daily time frame is bearish. Most likely we have around 7 days left of bearishness, and most likely we are probably heading to at least 57k to fill that CME gap that we spoke about. As you can see here, wicking towards the CME gap is great. Closing daily candles around the CME gap or below the heartline of this channel are starting basically rejecting here. Or something like this. As you can see here, you close daily candle with a nice rejection on the follow-up, then most likely we're heading towards 48 to 50k. So lose the heart line, head towards the bottom of the channel. 4-hour time frame is also bearish, but it might have a squeeze, so we basically might have a move towards 57 and then a squeeze towards 63, and then we analyze again. 1-hour time frame is bearish as well. And weekly time frame, which is the most interesting time frame, is basically bullish with a bearish divergence, just to make it easy for people to understand. So there's a little bit more downside left before a nice upside coming for BTC, and I think the upside is coming. We have to be optimistic. We are still above, 50k. We're still trending here for a really long time. All we need is a breakout candle on the weekly above 70, and I think this just moves basically. And it's logical. The more we stay here, the better the odds that the bull run still has juice left in it. All right. And that is it for the BTC daily update, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. I will see you again next time. Bye bye.